Now, the workplace has been redefined by a hybrid environment where employees work both from home and from the office. Add to this the accelerated automation over the last 3 years, and you have a recipe for increasing the skills gap even further. Furthermore, the alarmingly high unemployment rate has opened up discourse about looking towards alternative skills building and an alternative job market. Here to unpack these concepts are Martin Pienaar, Chief Operations Officer at Digital Skills Academy Mindworx, and Maseru Madlala, Skills Trainings and Qualifications Consultants. Good morning and welcome to the both of you. Thank you so much for being with us. Maseru, I think I'll start with you. Where do you believe we sit as a country when it comes to the skill scale?
Good morning. To be honest, I can't even say 5%. I can say 0.1. Look at the COVID. It was a wow. Nobody knows about the digital literacy. Nobody knows much about technology. All those face-to-face meetings were cancelled. We need to learn the Zoom. We need to learn Microsoft Teams. So at the moment, I can say 0.1.
Yes. That's quite alarming. And I mean, perhaps with you, Martin, we could start off with looking at how then do we address this ever-widening skills shortage that we experience as a country?
You know, good morning and good morning to your viewers. I studied to be an accountant, and if I wanted to move to the UK or to Australia or to Canada, I'd have to re-qualify as an accountant. In the tech space, those skills are much more transportable. You know, if I'm qualified as a data, cloud developer or as an architect, I can move around the world without having to reskill myself. So this is putting a lot of pressure onto the South African market as skills are transferring to other geographies. We know that we've got issues with our education system. Our outcomes are not good. And that the skills required to do a job are evolving constantly. I think LinkedIn did a recent survey. Over the last 7 years, to do the same job, 25% of the skills have changed. And they expect that by 2025 to be 40%. So there's no question that individuals and corporations have to work really hard to make sure that skills are being kept up to date.
Sure, that's quite alarming. I mean, you speak of the education system. Where do you think we are lagging behind, particularly to that if you're an accountant that needs to reskill if you're looking to move geographically?
So I think that one of the things that COVID has brought about has been that we're becoming very comfortable dealing online. So online learning is now a possibility. There are many, skills courses available. LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, all the big tech companies have skills development, skills courses on their website. So, if people take the initiative, there's plenty out there to study. So we all need to make an effort in, putting a plan together. What a great time of the year, first week of January, to set ourselves goals to say over the next 12 months, this is what we will achieve from a personal development perspective. And we all need to be out there updating our skills at all times.
Speaking of updating our skills, Maseru, what would you say are the benefits for an individual who is constantly looking at developing their skills?
Firstly, let's look at our traditional education system. It only allows us to study, pass tests, grades, and then graduate. We don't know much about skills. Looking at the skills development, it's where we get a chance to experiment while you are doing the work. So at least you can see there that I'm good at this, I'm not good at that. Remember, if you're a graduate, you just go to the labor market. We don't know what they want. And recently, a lot of graduates, it's what the labor markets don't want. You see, that is why we've got a high rate of unemployed graduates, because they are having what the labor markets don't want. And now we're looking at digital literacy. So I can encourage students to go to information technology. They need to focus more on technological skills development because that's what we need at the moment and in the future. Like Martin said, by 2025, all of us, we need to be in contact.
Surely there's a cost also associated with developing yourself, especially with going out and ensuring that you're now more aligned with the digital space. How would you advise young people, especially those that are now just coming out of matric, who wouldn't necessarily have the funds to go and study to develop themselves, to find alternative ways in ensuring that that development still happens?
I always say start small. You know those skills program, 3 months, 2 months, never look down on it because they will give you a skill. They can start with level 3. Level 3, it's always 3 months, and then they can go to level 4 and then level 5. But for now, they need to focus on skills programs. Yes, it helps a lot.
It surely most certainly does. Martin, in a country where we have the highest unemployment rate, we have on the other hand of the spectrum highly skilled workers that have the luxury to choose which jobs they want. What does this then mean for business in terms of retaining those skilled members?
Yeah, I think we've all heard about the Great Resignation and how people post-COVID have been more mobile in the market. Some people haven't wanted to come back to a full-time in-office job and would leave a company if they didn't have that flexibility of working, partly remote. I think, in order to retain skills and talent, organizations have to think beyond just remuneration. Clearly, your remuneration has to be market-related. But also, are we giving people access to building their skills base? Are we allowing flexible working conditions? Are our values aligned with our employees' values? Because if all of these don't come together, we will see higher rates of resignation. So organizations have to work hard to keep really scarce skills. Because as I mentioned previously, these skills are not just being competed for in South Africa, they're being competed for around the world. Amazon Web Services had over 3,000 people working in Cape Town even before they built their data center. So that's 3,000 skilled individuals that have been sucked out of the pool that would have previously been available to banks, to insurance companies, to the rest of the market. So we're in a global talent pool, and organizations need to make sure that they understand that and are working hard to retain top talent.
Do you find that there's a correlation, Martin, between highly skilled individuals and startups? Are we seeing people that have got those skills moving out of corporates and starting small businesses and then being able to pass on that skill to those that they employ?
Definitely. And, the Western Cape particularly has been a real hub for startup businesses. So, people in that sort of Stellenbosch, Cape Town ecosystem feel confident to start businesses. They find talent there. And definitely what we're seeing as a recruitment agency and as a training company is lots of small startup businesses starting to employ their first few employees and growing from there. So definitely small businesses are going to be part of solving this unemployment problem. We need to encourage small businesses.
Of course, and speaking to that unemployment problem, Maseru, are we finding that in terms of finding alternatives, are people moving more into artisanal spaces where they're able to use those skills and find themselves jobs?
Yes, because some other companies, they do offer inductions where they can cover the scarce skills within the company. But for me, I can say, I'm not saying people must not study and have degrees and what's not. But I prefer skills development training. Because with skills, you know what you're doing and what you want. And then when you go to that company, you know what you're good at.
And typically with those trainings, would you at the very least need a matric certificate, or does it vary?
Normally, they don't need matric certificate because NQF level 4 is equivalent to matric. Meaning even if you've got grade 10, or grade 9, you can still do your NQF level 4.
Yes. So, Martin, how has the new hybrid workplace influenced the change of skills which are now in demand?
So I don't think working in a hybrid way changes the technical skills required to do the job. If you're a software developer, you still need to be able to code in a specific language. But I think what the hybrid world has done is it's meant that to manage people productively that are not all in one space, we need different management skills. I think there's no doubt that some people will be shirking their responsibilities when they're not at work. I definitely know of examples of where people have been running multiple careers, working for 2 different organizations, pretending that they're only working at one of those 2. So what we need as management is to be able to manage remote workers, know when to bring people back into the workplace, how to create, creativity and innovation. Sometimes that needs to be face to face. So when we're scheduling teams to come in, managing outputs, KPIs, making sure that we're getting value from our teams that are working remotely. So I think a lot of the skills are actually in the management rather than the technical space with this hybrid way of working.
So who's the onus on in terms of keeping skills current and developed? Is it on the workers themselves or the employers?
I think it's both, but I think definitely the onus has moved more onto employees to make sure that they understand what skills they require to do their jobs, and then approaching the employer to make sure that they're getting those skills. What we've seen is resourceful employees going out on their own and going to go and study YouTube courses, or approaching the company to ask us to sponsor certain courses, and provided that skills that they need to do their jobs, we encourage that. So I definitely think it has to come from both sides, but I think employees have many more options available to them to see what is out there, in order to fulfill the skills that they need for their jobs.
Lastly, Maseru, in 2021, Switzerland had come out with the most skilled country in terms of the people that are skilled in that country. What advice would you have for South Africans for us to start moving towards? I mean, at the very beginning, you rated us very low with regards to skills. How do we start moving as a country towards countries like Switzerland?
I think for those who finish matric, who go into the universities, their universities need to work with these new matriculants and work on the curriculum in between the skills development, so that they see the difference between the educational traditional way and the skills development.
All right. No, thank you so much for joining us, to both of you this morning. It's been a very interesting conversation. I do hope that not only those that are leaving matric this year, but those that are also in the workplace will be able to take this information and develop their skills. That was Martin Pienaar, the Chief Operations Officer at Digital Skills Academy, Mindworx, as well as Maseru Madlala, the Skills Trainings and Qualifications Consultant. Thank you to both of you.